Hello, nerds. Welcome to another episode of the Brief Nerdity podcast. My name is Trent, and I'll be your host again this evening. And with me again this week is Ryan, of course.
Heyo.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Did you have a
And
good
then,
week?
yes, I had a really good week. How
Good.
about you?
That was a great week. Tiring, but good.
Yes. And also joining us again for the second time is our special guest, Ross.
I have returned.
How are you doing?
Doing great.
Are you more special now than you were before, or less special?
I think I'm more appreciated now than I was before.
But definitely less special because, rarity,
Yeah,
availability.
touche.
Yeah, last time I was like a legendary quality, and this time I'm only epic.
That's right.
You were a holographic Charizard, but now you're just a normal Charizard.
Which is purple.
But I'm still like first edition normal Charizard. I'm not like one of these new ones.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
You weren't into the actual physical cards for Pokemon, just the electronic merchandise?
No, you actually gave me my first ever Pokemon card just a few months ago.
Aww.
It was good stuff.
I'm about to cry,
So-
guys.
I know, it's so sweet. So this week, today actually, we had our first bit of official Star Wars Episode 8 news since, the launch of Rogue One or before?
Probably.
Yes. Tell us what it was.
Well, I think technically we got some official episode 8 news after Carrie Fisher's passing, but
Well, yeah, like
but,
official press.
but yes, so we got an official title announcement today, and that title is The Last Jedi. What do you guys think?
Dun dun dun.
What do you guys
it's
think?
I think it's kind of a silly title because I mean, it you have Luke's character obviously at the end of the most recent Star Wars movie, and then not the most recent one, but the most forward timeline Star Wars movie, and then like I'm pretty sure that there are going to be other Jedi, like the Last Jedi. It's like it's not the Last Jedi, like I don't know. I'm kind of meh at the name. Like I don't know that it really hypes me the way that it was intended to.
Well, that's the interesting thing that I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today. Actually, on our Brief Nerdity page, someone made this comment that Jedi is a singular and a plural word. So the Last Jedi could mean more than just Luke. And it could not even include Luke, because maybe
That's true.
Maybe Luke gonna die.
But I mean, I don't think that there's anyone that thinks that like once this arc is complete, that there are not going to be more Jedi in the Star Wars universe. I mean, we could all be wrong, but I don't think that there will be a post Jedi Star Wars. I don't know that. Honestly,
No.
I don't know that universe is rich enough to hold itself together without lightsabers.
I have a theory,
At
and I
least
think
with-
I'm right. So I'll let you guys
it
keep
could-
talking, and then I'll give my theory last because it's probably correct.
You have a theory it could be bunnies?
Possibly.
I heard all your theories before Rogue One. I'll put some money on whether yours are correct or not.
Well, so I mean, the wording to me is an obvious callback to one of Yoda's last lines. When gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be? Pass on what
Correct.
you have learned. So I think it's framing that, sentiment. Pass on what you have learned. And it's going to be focusing on Rey's training.
Well, is what I think is going to happen is that they've been, I want to say clear, but they've been pretty adamant of not calling Kylo Ren and Supreme Leader Snoke Sith. They haven't really used that name. Obviously, they're both dark side users, and Kylo is part of the Knights in Ren, but they're kind of not really Sith, and we don't know if they are going to be revealed as Sith or become Sith further down the line. But as of right now, they're not Sith, and so is what I think is going to happen is that Luke is going to kind of acknowledge that the inherent dogma of the Jedi religion did not work. It did not work in the Old Republic, and his version of the Jedi failed ultimately. And so I think it's going to begin anew as something else. It could still be light side Force users in some kind
Grey
of
Jedi.
organization, but I think the Jedi will cease to exist.
So I have a
That's
question about the
interesting.
Sith real quick, just because so much is or isn't canon. Um, in the expanded canon with the Old Republic, the Sith are both a lost race and a religious kind of cult, I guess, or a good group of fanatical bad Jedi Sith. Um, like is Sith a race in our current canon? Like, or were there ancient Sith before that left Korriban, or are Sith simply what happens to Jedi when you know when they get temperamental?
Unless they have popped up in like an encyclopedia of some kind. Right now, the species of Sith does not exist.
Yeah, I don't think that is currently canon. It's interesting. I was having a discussion about this with my coworker today that a lot of Star Wars canon is kind of like Schrodinger's canon in that it is canon until it's revealed, but then not canon until it's revealed. It's kind of both at the same
Yeah,
time because
good
so
way of
many
looking at it.
fans, yeah, so many fans just accept so much of this as just like the framework of the galaxy until they're proven wrong. So we've not had any official source that I know of that have mentioned the race itself.
See, and I think that's kind of cool, because it's not like we're totally like everything that's not in this is not it, because like there are things that were kind of expanded universe canon that they've brought in and been like, no, we're using this part of it. But I think that it has a lot of potential down the road to really kind of isolate fans the longer it goes on. So it's like, no, even after the relaunch, this was always canon. No, that wasn't canon. Like, I feel that like the world of Star like I'll get some hate mail here. I don't think Star Wars is a really great story. I don't think that if Star
Uh,
Wars hadn't had the the amazing music and the amazing visual effects, I don't think there would have been a Star Wars after the first one.
Well, we'd like to thank Ross for guest starring on our podcast. This is his final podcast. We will have a memorandum at the end of the podcast and,
Oh my
and a
god, the
clip
track really
show
got hung up under me.
of his best moments. So
But no, I mean, the story of it is it's meh. I mean, it's the Odyssey. It's I don't think it's like that amazing, at least in what is now tight canon. Um, because I mean, really, the Jedi are a bunch of douchebags, and you know, Yoda manipulated Luke to get him to finish his dirty work because he couldn't do it himself. Like, there's a lot of negative things to be looked at for that universe, but like the expanded universe and the fact that there's so much there that so many people felt that they were able to latch onto. I think that when you start, like, the longer they go before they cut those ties, the more danger there is for them to really kind of isolate part of their fan base down the road.
See, now
Because
I would
letting like if
say, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you make a clean break of it, people are like, all right, you had to redefine the canon, it's a clean break. But if you let it linger and people are like, no, this is like, if they get their hopes up that their stuff is still going to be canon, rather than just being told, no, we're making a clean break here with all of the EU stuff. That'd be expanded universe, not European Union. That I feel like letting people hope and then ripping it away later is worse than just being like, we're making a clean break here.
Uh,
I would say that pretty much everything post Return of the Jedi in the extended universe has pretty much been written off at this point. There's a few things that could still happen or change. Like Mara Jade could technically exist, but probably at this point she didn't, if we're being honest with ourselves.
or in a much different way.
Yeah. Old Republic, like the Sith race and stuff like that, is still pretty up in the air because they haven't touched anything pre-episode 1 yet. So they're having a younger Yoda story, but by younger it's like I think 10 years before episode 1. So that at that point will be the earliest in canon thing to have happened so far, and so there's a lot of room there. And I feel that's where most of the Star Wars EU fans come in that post Return of the Jedi time period. I'm the opposite. I prefer the older Republic stuff myself, but I don't think they're really.
I absolutely prefer the Old Republic stuff as well with you. I think that the Old Republic stuff is a much better cohesive unit than your episode 1 through 7 stuff that exists.
And that's the thing right now. They may be taking a long time to kind of acknowledge it, but at the same time, it's also not hurting anything or
Right.
or conflicting, I guess I would say. I mean, the
Right.
new Jedi Order and all the post-Return of the Jedi books, they directly conflicted with Disney's vision for where Star Wars was going to go. And so that was probably one of the main reasons they had to, quote unquote, toss out all the old legend stories to make room for their stories that they were going to tell. But as of right now, stuff that took place 5,000 years ago isn't really conflicting at all. And so they can reintroduce it as canon or completely wipe it. We don't know at this point.
Well, it doesn't really behoove them to do either one at the moment because it doesn't really, like you said, it doesn't affect their current aims.
Exactly.
Also, I mean, I am a huge fan of the post Episode 6 extended universe. I've read all of them. It's what some of my actual like earliest books were in like middle school and high school. But some of them, I mean, if we're being honest, were special.
They were kind of out there.
Well, and they didn't have a tight control on canon at that time because the idea of the movies extending into that time period was just so unrealistic that it didn't
So much
matter.
wishful thinking.
Right. And so there's a lot of stuff in there that happens that they couldn't really have kept it the way that it was. Because it would have constrained them too much in storytelling, and because some of that stuff is just flatly out of sync with the prequel trilogy, with each other. Like there are books that contradict each other, characters that disappear for decades and then show back up like nothing happened because it's that author's favorite character. So it
And then
was
just inconsistencies. I mean, like how many people
Right.
stole the original plans to the Death Star at that point? I think there were 3 different stories or 4
Right.
that told the story of them stealing the plans to the original Death Star.
But no Bothans were involved in stealing the original plans of the Death Star. We'd like to be very clear on
Right.
that.
That is
Never
very
have there
clear.
been Bothans involved in stealing Episode 4's Death Star plans,
Correct.
unless there were.
Did you guys get a lot of people asking you about Rogue One? Be like, oh, is this movie gonna have lots of Bothans in it?
No, I had
No.
one
So I
person-
gave Trent a hard time about it to drive him nuts, like as a joke, because I'm nerdy enough that I knew that the Bothans didn't steal those Death Star plans, and so he kind of got aggravated at me about it. But then people actually started being like, "Why? I can't believe they cut the Bothans out of the movie." And like it was really funny because like what I made as a joke to him became something he actually heard from people out in real life.
I had people legitimately asking me about it, or I'd hear coworkers, mention like, yeah, it's gonna be Bothans stealing. You know that part where they say the Bothans died? That's gonna be this movie. And I was like, nope, actually, like that guy that stood up from his cubicle and nope.
Actually, guys,
That's pretty much it.
Comic book guy
that
here.
is incorrect.
Interesting though, because it shows that like even if they're not doing more like movies featuring Luke, Leia, Han in that time frame, I mean they could still come out with more rebel movies during that time. I mean there obviously were major things happening which your title characters weren't involved in. So I'm curious to see if they keep kind of trying to milk that time frame for more movies. You can get a Rogue 2. They're stealing the plans for the second Death Star.
Well, I think they're milking that time frame for good reason, because that time frame hadn't really been touched in a few decades, and that's what most people who love Star Wars. That's where the greatest amount of love, I guess I would say, is for Star Wars is in that original trilogy era, and so they kind of want to bank on that more for a safety net into driving people back into this universe and to love this universe again. And then I think from there they'll be able to expand further and do more things.
Yeah, and if you look at the positioning in the timeline of all the stuff they're working on right now, the vast majority of the comics, the novels, the cartoon is all right before or right after Episode 4. So it's like there is so much open space still for everything else. I mean, there's the question. I mean, there's what 30 years between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
Yep.
And there's one book so far that takes place during that. Well, 1.5.
3 technically.
Lost Stars, Bloodline, and what else?
The 2 Aftermath books.
Fair enough. And soon to be 3.
Yep.
So there's lots and lots of stories they could tell there. especially with the novels, they can bring any character back they want, and there's no issue.
And I would
So
bet a good amount of money that once episode 9 has been released and all the main mysteries of that trilogy have been revealed, the backstory to these characters, pretty much exactly what happened during those 30 years,
yeah,
we're going to get lots and lots of good stories
Yep.
in the extended universe in there. But I feel that they're holding back because they want to save those surprises and reveals for the movies themselves.
So Trent made an interesting point. Obviously, there's been a lot made of the fact that Princess Leia is not, or General Organa is not going to have a continued role past what's already been filmed. That they have no intentions to bring her in CGI or things of that nature. But yeah, like the books open up a huge opportunity. Like they could do a set of Princess Leia or General Organa books, spanning that timeline. I mean, especially not to be insensitive, but like with the publicity that Carrie Fisher's had because of her passing, like those books would like be super popular. Like even people that weren't super into Star Wars, I think would be somewhat interested in those books just because of how big Carrie Fisher was and what her passings meant to so many people.
Yeah, totally. I
yeah,
agree.
I'd be curious to see what the sales of the Leia comic line have been like in the past few weeks.
Too bad it wasn't very good.
I know.
Kind of like the original Star Wars trilogy. I'm just kidding. Don't send me like mail bombs. Just hate mail.
No, you're just never gonna. No, I'm just kidding.
So be sure to give me your personal email address at the end of the podcast, not the brief Nerdity one.
Please send all complaints to.
So how do you guys feel the timing of this name announcement? Do you feel it's a little early, it's a little late, it's right on time?
I think it's perfect. I think the hype for Rogue One is waning. I think it dovetails. I mean, with a release every year, stuff's gonna have to overlap. And so obviously you have like the Rogue One on video stuff that's gonna come out still. I don't know if we're getting a Rogue One Lego game, but I would not be surprised if we are. Um, okay. So for the timeline of the original Force Awakens, we had a teaser in December of the previous year.
It was actually November because it was Thanksgiving. I remember
That's right.
being out of time for Thanksgiving.
So in terms of scaling it compared to that, we're a little bit behind. How are we compared with Rogue One's release schedule? Do you remember?
I looked, and Rogue One's first trailer was on April 7th, 2016.
That was the teaser.
The very first teaser. Yep.
But we already knew the name of it before, like back in 2015's
We did.
Celebration.
Yep. So the name was very early.
I don't see any reason to hold the name back because I mean people are already speculating on what's going on. The names generally don't give them like if it was Star Wars Episode 8, The Death of Luke, like okay, then hold that effing name back. But I mean like the upcoming unannounced Star Wars movie, like it's just such like a mouthful or like an eyesore to like read like the Episode 8 title yet revealed. Like
Well, especially since they're trying to get away from the episode numbers being a part of the official title, which I don't know how I feel about that, but
they're trying to avoid Land Before Time syndrome.
Yeah, they don't want people who be like, "Oh, I haven't seen the first 7 movies. I definitely can't jump in on number 8." To.
I'm just sad we didn't get Star Wars: The Fate of the Jedi. I mean, I thought it'd be perfect.
Of course.
You guys don't get the Fast and Furious joke.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. Wah wah.
Wah, wah, indeed.
But I mean, I'm a little bit selfish because
when does that new racing movie come out, Trent?
You're funny.
I'm being a bit selfish because Trent and I are going to be at Star Wars Celebration this year, and I really want the very first footage of Episode 8 to be released during that first Episode 8 panel, because just one of the highlights of my life was when that teaser happened at the last celebration we were at, the celebration of 2015. Even though it wasn't the first footage we saw, it was definitely the most significant footage we had seen at that point. And Trent, I feel that the first trailer that came out Thanksgiving of 2014, that was more of a teaser to be like Star Wars is back, more than a teaser for Episode 7.
Yeah, like we saw BB-8 rolling, we saw Finn kind of like, huh, I'm in a desert, and just things like that. But like we had the first full-on trailer at Celebration, and I'm kind of hoping that we have some kind of small teaser before that, and then we get a full trailer at Celebration.
Technically, the what we saw at Celebration 15 was the second teaser.
Yeah, I mean it was a lot longer, and actually had lines in it aside from "There has been an awakening," which is like the only line.
Because the Force Awakens, Trent.
Yeah.
Did you feel it?
With the mention of BB-8, I do have an interesting Star Wars question for you.
Sure.
If you had to choose your droid, do you go with BB-8, do you go with R2-D2, or do you go with T-701, which is the
R2.
droid from the Old Republic?
R2.
Yeah, I'm very much in the R2 camp. Like, people like lost their minds over BB-8. It's so cute. It's this and that. I'm like, I kicked that thing and it would never come back. Like, this thing's not gonna kill stormtroopers or like, you know.
I think BB-8.
No, like awesome. Freaking, I love watching R2-D2 like spit oil on super battle droids and set them on fire, and then the droids are like crying as they're burning to death because someone programmed them to do that.
I do love me some BB-8 though. I thought he was a good.
It's impossible to beat R2. I mean, he's just got so much history, and I think actually for me it's a toss up between R2 and Chopper from Rebels.
Yeah, I knew you'd love your Chopper.
I mean, if we're expanding it further, like I'd take an HK droid over anything else. The Hunter Killer droids.
I was about to say if you throw an HK-47 into anything, then he wins.
That's why I didn't ask, because I think anyone that knows HK-47 would take HK-47 because it's insane. No, sorry, you're not an HK fan.
I am not an HK fan. I think he's overhyped. I know. I mean, I don't think he's horrible. I just don't think he's as amazing as everyone says.
That's okay.
I mean, yeah, I'm not a huge BB-8 fan. I mean, partially because Neil deGrasse Tyson said that BB-8 would be skidding all over sand and unable to control himself. So.
Yeah, but then they showed that was actually a real droid that was remote control, and they showed it to him, and then he retracted his statement.
Yeah, he was wrong.
Don't you come at me with your facts.
He got out-scienced by droid makers, like actual droid makers. But no. So I think, yeah, I mean, there's nothing new that we learned today, really. So I'm excited to learn more, and obviously we're going to learn more in April, but I'm hoping for a little nugget of something beforehand.
Well, you got Star Wars Rebels in the meantime.
It's true. I do.
And it's kind of Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, kind of speaking of which, I've been watching Star Wars Rebels with Trent, and as we're going through, we're sort of the beginning of season 2 right now, and I've been kind of telling him as we're watching, like, don't look at the preview images, don't watch any trailers, don't do anything because I don't want you to be spoilers. And then he kind of joked, and what'd you tell me you did, Trent?
When I go to open up the new episodes, I kind of like make my vision blurry so I can't read anything that comes up.
And it reminded me that I did that way back in the day, maybe not way back in the day, but pretty far long ago. But when TV shows on DVD were a thing, like I really got into 24 hardcore, but I think the show was like toward the end of season 3, beginning of season 4 when I got into it. And so I'd rent the DVDs of season 1 and 2 and
at Blockbuster.
Yeah. And I remember being frustrated because like when you click on an episode, it'd like show like 6 or 7 like screen caps from the episode, and almost every time I saw him, it was something spoilery, like, oh, I guess Nina returns in this episode.
Why is that guy got a gun pointed at Jack Bauer? He's supposed to be working on the computer over there.
Yeah, exactly. So I did the exact same thing. I ended up like squinting my vision as I booted up the DVD and like selected the menu so I wouldn't see anything, so I wouldn't be spoiled watching 24. And Trent mentioned, it's funny because I guess spoilers were an entirely different thing back then, because when people would be watching those 24 DVDs, I guess they assumed people would be rewatching them, buying them on DVD because they loved them so much when they watched it originally, not really buying them on DVD to watch them for the first time. So
yeah, it's you notice that with a lot of early on like DVD collections, because it was still assumed at that point that people were watching live television, and then you were getting the DVDs for rewatch or nostalgia purposes. Whereas nowadays, it's such a shift in that so many people are cord cutting that sometimes the first experience you get with a show is that binge watch when you buy the season.
I think
And
part of
so,
the thing with the original DVDs was that they were so enamored by the fact that they could put
Right.
images up on that they didn't stop to think if they should. It's like, oh man, like we could fill this whole page while they're like doing this menu thing with like really cool images. Like that's awesome. You can't do that on a VHS tape. Yeah, well, what parts are we gonna put up there? We'll put the cool parts up.
Nice Jurassic Park quote. I dig it. Your references are out of control.
it's pretty good stuff. So speaking of spoilers and upcoming movies and whatnot, who is excited about Lego Batman?
I am more excited than any reasonable human being should be for that movie.
First try.
I actually did that the other day. What was I doing? I was trying to get. So I do IT work for a living, and so I was setting up someone's computer workstation for the first time, and so I'm trying to plug the DisplayPort cable into the back of the monitor, and you have to turn it a certain way because it has that little divot in the corner of the plug. But anyway, so I'm like trying to get it up in there, and I'm like, God, this is so annoying. And then I'm like, first try when I plugged it in, and everyone around me didn't get it, and I was sad.
But yeah, like when the first Lego movie came out, like I was aware of its existence, but I really didn't care, I guess I would say. But then I want to say the day it came out, Reddit just kind of exploded with how great the movie was. And so I remember it was a Saturday, it's still an opening weekend. I finally was like, okay. So I dragged me and a bunch of friends to go see it. And it was an afternoon matinee. And like I walked out and I was just like, I wanted to like dance. I was like so happy. Like it was one of the best, happiest movie experiences I've ever had in my life.
Because everything is awesome.
Yeah. And like I literally went home, called my girlfriend and was like, we're going to go see the Lego movie tonight. And I went and saw it again that Saturday night. Like, I'm like, I want to see it right then. And I was like, you have to see this movie. And took her to go see it that same day. And I loved it so much. And I ended up seeing it 4 times in theaters. And I've probably seen it another 5 times since I've shown it to anybody I know who hasn't seen it yet. And I'm just
to cement me never coming back. I thought that movie was really overhyped. Also, I didn't think Finding Nemo was that great of a movie.
Wow, you're just crapping on everybody today, aren't you?
I loved Wreck-It Ralph.
I do agree with you on Finding Nemo, but
you people are awful.
I have a good reason though. So
you do not.
Okay. I do have a good reason. So take me back. I was like 16 years old. I was working at a Toys R Us, and they had it playing on loop, but not. It didn't automatically play on loop. Is that it would finish the movie and then it gets stuck on the DVD menu, and it goes right back to what you're saying, Ross. That they put in Dory's annoying dialogue, like, "Why don't you click on something? I don't know what I should click on." Kind of dialogue, and her dialogue was only like 30 seconds long, and then she's like, just keep choosing, like to choose an option in the DVD menu. And so that same 30 seconds would go and go and go until me or someone would like get to the back where we actually put in the disc to the DVD player and just click the play button so it would start the movie over again. So between that 30-second loop of Dory's dialogue for the DVD menu and just the movie itself, me seeing it 5 times a day, every day for 6 months or more, I was like, nope, I'm so done with this movie for the rest of my life. No.
My thing was that I waited a really long time to see it in theaters, but I ended up going to see it in theaters because my granddad wanted to take my younger siblings to go see it, and he's like, come with us. And I'm like, sure. But like I'd heard it's like the best movie ever. Like people were saying that it was like Lion King level. And so I was really stoked. I don't think it's a bad movie. Like, I mean, it's a fun movie. It's got a decent story. It's not the worst Disney movie by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not even probably the worst Pixar movie by any stretch of the imagination. But
cough, Cars 2, cough.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. Cars 3 looks awesome. It's super gritty.
It's hard to argue with that one.
But no, like I went and saw it, and I kept waiting for it to be like super impactful, like Lion King, and it just wasn't. And I was like, oh well, it's a movie, but it wasn't like it wasn't one of those like once in a generation like defining kind of things, which is what everyone had said it was. And so like I remember leaving and being like, this movie did not even like come close to meeting the hype that it had around it.
So tell me more of your hate for Legos and happiness in general.
Oh, I
But
like Legos.
I want Ross to tell me something that he's excited about that's coming up soon, movie-wise, anything-wise.
Fate of the Furious was announced.
You hear they're
I'm
gonna
a-
make a video game off of that? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know if you guys are being sarcastic or not, but I'm really excited for Fate of the Furious as
No,
well.
I was not. I was not being sarcastic.
Oh, there you go.
They announced Triple X 3: The Return of Xander Cage. Triple X is an action movie. I would not suggest googling it.
Yeah, don't Google that.
That was the first time I ever really like found myself in like a bad spot on a computer. Was back when like LimeWire and all that stuff was out, or not even LimeWire, probably like Napster before that. But like the really early thing where you could download movies. And so there was the original Triple X movie that had Vin Diesel in it, and it's a really cool action movie, a lot of stuff. And let's just say that as a younger individual, I did not realize that searching for Triple X Vin Diesel was going to return the searches that it returned, and there were problems.
Yep. But yeah, I'm very excited for the Lego Batman movie. I love the Lego movie. I love Batman, and I haven't been thrilled with what they've done, or what DC has done really since 2012. Not 2012, 2008 was it? Dark Knight, yeah. So
really, the number one movie I had to think for a second because you put me on the spot. The number one movie I'm really actually excited for right now is probably Justice League Dark.
The
animated one.
Yeah,
that looks phenomenal. When does it come out?
I'm not sure. I can look.
Yeah, have you heard about this, Ryan?
Yeah, I watched all and love all the DC animated movies.
So are we? Which do you think is going to be better? And obviously this is a ridiculous comparison, but Lego Batman or Justice League Dark?
Lego Batman by
Lego
far.
Batman. Even I will say Lego Batman will be better.
So is Lego Batman going to be the best DC movie of all time?
No.
Barring the Batman trilogy with Christian Bale.
Justice League Dark comes out tomorrow on digital.
Oh wow!
Nice.
It doesn't come out till February 7th on DVD and Blu-ray release, but tomorrow on digital.
I'm a bit
The
familiar
25th.
with the story they're going to try to tell with Justice League Dark, and it's pretty good. I really like the new Justice League New 52 story they did. I think it's what's it called? I can't remember right offhand. But it's basically the origin stories of the Justice League coming together again for the New 52, made in movie form. It was really, really good. It's one of my favorite DC animated movies.
I'm really excited about Young Justice coming back to Netflix. Like
That looks
that's
good.
really like I watched Young Justice. I'm like, this has to have like 8 seasons. This is like the best thing I've seen in a long time from DC, and it ended. And I'm like, you sons of,
So what we're saying is that DC needs to take their animated department and just put them in charge of movies.
Seriously, like I think that
All of them.
if Marvel did live action and DC did animated, I think that could be a split that I could get behind.
Well, they're kind of already doing that.
No, I just mean
Well,
like put
I
the
mean-
story team of these animated shows in charge of an actual live action movie.
There could be problems
think-
with that though, because I don't know if you know, but the new Killing Joke movie that came out this past summer, the Killing Joke graphic novel, which I made you read, Trent, it was a little bit shorter than for a full feature-length movie, and so they added basically an extra 30 minutes to the beginning of it, just kind of a standalone Batgirl story, and it wasn't very good. It had it like, I don't know, just didn't connect very well to
It's
the
not
Killing
just
Joke
that it
story.
wasn't very good. It was really like the story was interesting enough, but it wasn't true at all to the characters. It has Batgirl sleeping with Batman, and she's so in love with him, and that's never been the dynamic. And the thing was that the thing that got them in the most trouble was they're like, oh, we're gonna have a prequel for Batgirl, and it's gonna show how powerful she is, and it's gonna like get over all the like the issues that these comics have being sexist and things of that nature. And then it was like it was the opposite of that. Like it was all sorts of like chauvinistic, like patriarchal problems, like all these things that people scream about on the internet. Like it actually was those things. It's one of those things that when they scream about it, you kind of have to be like, okay, you got it. You're on this one. You're right. Yeah, it was just bad. Like I was really like the big thing about that comic that was so controversial initially was that it's implied heavily in the comic that the Joker rapes her. Or sexually assaults her in some way, and so people were really mad about that. And they're like, "Oh, we'll make her powerful, so that when it happens, it was like, it just took it from being something that was like somewhat defensible, that like the Joker's a terrible person and does these things to hurt Batman, and he knew that it would hurt Batman, to and her father, to being like, this is just really in poor taste, and not just in poor taste, but not at all true to the comics.
Yeah. So even though Bruce Timm, who I love for making the original Batman animated series, he's kind of in charge of that whole thing. So that's great. As I would love to have him be in charge of the live action movies. Things like that prove that he's not infallible, and just they need someone new to do the live action movies. I don't know if it's Bruce Timm or not, but someone new besides who they have already.
Right. Whatever they're doing, it's not working. That's all I'm saying.
So I loved the news when it came out that Ben Affleck said that if the script wasn't good for his movie, that he wouldn't do it. Oh, but by the way, Ben Affleck is the one writing the script.
Yeah.
I wish I could get away with that. Yeah, if I don't like the way this project is going, I don't want to be a part of it. Well, you're in charge of the project. Well, still, I mean, that'd be useful at work, wouldn't it, Trent? Like, if
this install's not going well. Could I pretend that I had nothing to do with it? Yeah, that'd be great. So I'm really excited. Getting back to something positive, I am full on the hype train for Power Rangers.
Me too. Like
I'm
I said,
so excited.
I said I was more ridiculously excited for Lego Batman than any grown man should be, and pretty much the same thing when that new Power Rangers trailer hit this week.
I'm way more excited than I should be for this movie. But did you guys see the cut that someone did
where they put the original music with it?
Yes.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like,
so good. And all the comments are right on. It's like 1,000 times better than that Kanye nonsense with the actual trailer. It's like, is that like a thing that's been like? You guys noticed that that's more of a thing in trailers here recently?
What, Kanye?
Just putting in like random hip hop or rap music to something that I don't know that it necessarily fits. Like they did it in Assassin's Creed and it was terrible. The Power Rangers one is not as bad because at least it matches like the style of the fighting and stuff. But
I think they've seen how successful some trailers have been when they put music that you wouldn't think necessarily goes with it. And I'm thinking in this case of like Suicide Squad. Like the best thing about the Suicide Squad was the trailer.
Oh yeah.
Man, this episode can be called Ross Shits on Everything. Sorry, but no. So I think that they're trying to like recreate that magic, and it's just not working. But then again, they'll all be out of jobs pretty soon because there was a trailer a while back that was made by Watson, and it was a great trailer and made perfect sense. So all those people should start looking for new jobs and updating their resumes. They're going to be replaced by computers too. They just haven't realized it yet.
I also think that people like you and me and Trent, we all grew up with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and so we're kind of sold right off the bat just from the visuals in the movie. But then younger teens and early 20s people who didn't grow up with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers have to be sold, and so maybe catering to Kanye's audience is one way to sell them on the movie.
Yeah, thanks for making me feel old.
Yeah.
So I get that they're trying to get away from stereotypes there, but it's always weird to me when I watch it and the black kid doesn't turn into the Black Ranger. I'm not saying that he can't be any color ranger he wants to be, but it's always weird because and it's the stereotypes, I guess, but like, the Asian person has always been the Yellow Ranger and the nerdy kid has always been the Blue Ranger. Like, and so it's like,
you mean the original?
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that was only for season
the
1. The Asian guy was the Black Ranger in season 2 and up, and Aisha, the
Adam
black woman, was.
Yeah, but for Mighty Morphin.
Yeah, Mighty Morphin season 2 and 3. Adam was Chinese, was Asian, and he was the Black Ranger. Zach was only there for the first season. I know my Power Rangers lore. Don't even mess.
I actually might have gone back and been watching the that guy with the glasses reviews of Power Rangers.
Okay, where did he go? If you know your Power Ranger lore, where did he go?
He went to a UN
internship program.
Yeah.
We are huge guys. We are all qualified to be. We are all qualified to be on this podcast.
Well, we got to get our nerd cred out there.
If there's someone out there saying that we are not credentialed to do this, we have proven you wrong.
So the second. Well, do you guys have any other thoughts on Power Rangers? Are you excited or worried about anything?
I kind of want to call out Gold. That I don't know.
Goldar?
I miss his old look, and I'm not sure how I feel about his new look. But
I think it's cool. I mean, I don't think he's gonna have a lot of personality. It looks like he's just kind of like a molten gold demon thing.
But his personality was the best part.
When he kind of
I
turns
mean,
into a good guy later on.
for a cheesy kids movie, sure, like his personality is the best part. But I mean, it's a gritty reboot, man. Like
Well, that Alpha 5 begs to differ.
you gotta have
Yeah,
you gotta have all the. Well,
I was
he's the plucky
concerned
comic
about the
relief.
Alpha 5.
He's the plucky comic relief of the gritty reboot.
Yeah, I was looking for less Olaf with my Alpha 5. Like that's kind of the vibe I get from him. Like it's
I
that
mean,
kind of comic relief.
to be fair, we've only had one line from him, and it was not as bad as it could have been.
No, but he doesn't even look the same. Ay 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 ay.
As long as he says that at one point in the movie, I'll be sold.
Yep, pretty much. I don't know. The one thing that I really want to have happen somewhere, they need to put in some version of the original theme song, either while they're getting their suits or while they're getting their Zords for the first time, just as a tiny, tiny little fan service moment, and I will be happy.
Ditto. I also think some of the original Rangers should make cameo appearances.
Yes. Well, there's a
When they get-
rumor.
When they get text on their phone, it better go toot 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 toot.
There's a rumor that the Green Ranger is going to make a cameo. It was leaked. The blue Turbo Ranger. I forget his name. No, not the blue one. The red one. Tweeted or posted on Instagram or something that the Green Ranger is going to be in this movie somewhere.
Nice.
Well, he's constantly said that he'd love to come back and do a Power Rangers movie, and there's just never been like he'd love to do this kind of like a reimagining of the Power Rangers. The only like I'm excited about the Power Rangers, but I feel that the audience they're going for is a little too wide here. Like there was a fan made thing a while back for Power Rangers. I'll have to find it and send you guys a link for it. And it was, I mean, really well done, and it was super
I saw it.
gritty. And it's like this seems like, oh no, everything's dire, but we're still super campy. Like this doesn't really give me like the gritty reboot feel.
You're
This
talking
is
about the Katie Sackhoff and James Vanderbeek one, right?
yeah. Like people are like, oh, it's such a gritty reboot of Power Rangers. I'm like, it's not gritty. It's not gritty. It's like campy AF.
Well,
Like,
I mean, I was kidding, but
well, no, but there are a lot of
it's
people out there that are
more-
saying that it's nice because it's gritty, that it's going to be like real. And I'm like, no, it's not real. It's got better graphics.
It's still.
I mean,
it's
yeah, they're
still
not knocking
grittier.
over cardboard, buildings anymore. It has CGI.
I think there's other differences than that. I mean, Rita in general is actually scary, or at least looks like she might.
I don't
be.
know. I mean, if that Rita showed up in my room, I might be turned on. The original Rita, I'd definitely be scared.
Well, did you see at one point in the trailer, it looks like she's sucking power from the Pink Ranger, and her costume is kind of like growing. So
Yes.
people
That's
are
interesting.
theorizing that Rita in this universe is a fallen Green Ranger.
Oh, no, that's an
some point.
interesting idea. Yeah, because
Yeah,
that
it
green.
never
the green.
explained in the original series where she got the green power coin from.
Yeah, and in this trailer, I mean, you see what their power coins look like. They look like rocks with kind of holes in the middle of them, with the color in there. And she has, by their universe, the green power coin in her staff in the trailer. So
True, and the green crystals that are around her definitely look like the suits that they're all wearing.
yep. So
That's fascinating. I didn't even realize that.
I'll tell you one of the visuals that was really cool looking from the trailer that I just thought was like neat was when they're all in water and they're glowing that color. Like that just visually looked really cool. Like I don't know. I mean, it means nothing, but it just like visually, I was like that part of the trailer actually looks pretty cool.
you know, also look cool, the Logan trailer.
It's Trent's turn to not like something.
I don't know. I'm gonna see it. Obviously, I don't know. Like a friend of mine said it really well. Our friend TK was like, if I didn't actually see these actors in this trailer, I would think this is fake. Because it just
Yeah.
seems so out of left field. The comic book thing is weird. I don't like how young she is because X-23 in the comics is kind of like the successor to Wolverine, and she has her own series, and she's really amazing. Like I don't know if they're setting her up for some kind of, but like this doesn't even mesh with what they're trying to do with the new cast of characters that they just introduced in Apocalypse. So like I don't get what this is for and why they're wasting X-23 like this, because I feel
I
like
don't
this
think
is
Fox even knows what they're doing at this point.
I know, and it's driving me crazy.
I think that they're sitting there and like praying to themselves that, hey, maybe Disney will come and want to pick this up too.
Not that now they have Deadpool though. They're not wanting to give up the golden goose.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Deadpool's working, but
Did you hear that it's been like nominated for like Best Picture, like non-ironically nominated in a number of places?
Yeah, I heard that.
have you guys seen the submission video that they sent to the Oscars?
No, I haven't.
No, but I really want to.
It's great. It's on Ryan Reynolds' social media. If you go search for it, it's amazing.
Yeah, but the new Logan trailer sold me a little bit more than the first trailer did. The first trailer was kind of meh, but seeing the direction they're going with it, with X-23 and with Logan himself, and then the fact it's going to be the final time, quote unquote, final time that Hugh Jackman plays, Wolverine.
Uh-huh.
I feel it's going to be better, at least than the previous two Wolverine movies, which isn't a high bar to set, but
I think
I
it's
feel
hard for me to like this. Sorry, it's just I've never been a Wolverine fan, and I'm done. I'm so overly done with Wolverine at this point. I was done with him in X2. Like every X-Men movie does not need to revolve around Wolverine. Please, for the love of God.
Well, see, and here's the part about that to me is so sad is that I feel that there is no. Let me think. Make sure I'm. No, I'm good with this. I don't feel that there is any comic book hero whose potential has been more squandered on the big screen than Wolverine's, because Wolverine is a fascinating character. He's been alive for ages because he doesn't age, and I mean, basically, at times, has been to the point that he can't die. He heals back from most everything. And so like his mind's been messed with a bunch, and that stuff's kind of interesting. But like, I feel that if we had a non-silly Wolverine movie, that it could be really good, because like the fact that he always feels lonely, that anyone that he's ever loved in his life has died because they've aged, like like there's so much about him that really makes him a compelling character, but he always ends up being the butt of every joke because if you don't, he seems like a stupid character if you don't take the time to actually know his story and stuff. And it's like, why is this guy always in a bad mood and always flicking everyone off and always drinking? Like,
Because he is
like
a stupid character.
he's well, I mean, as presented in the movies, absolutely, but like he is a very fascinating character when you look at like the scope of how long he's been alive and how that affects his view of the world. And so like finding someone else, like there's the part in the Logan trailer when he's like, who is this? And Xavier's like, she's like you. She's very much like you. Like that's actually like a huge punch in the gut because there's never been anyone like him, even among mutants. But it's all squandered because it's also silly. It's like you should put the clown car music da, 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 behind it. It's like everything to do with him. And it's like I feel like they're trying to make it serious, but it's too little too late. Logan needs to be done and be a new character in a new universe before you're ever going to get anything substantive out of him, because I've already made him into such a goofball.
I would counterpoint your Wolverine disservice on the big screen and counter it with Cyclops.
But Cyclops has only been disserviced like in movies with other people. There are entire movies that have Wolverine's name on them that are stupid.
Touche.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of overall potential, I agree. Also, I think Cyclops is. Well, it's like, and it's like you were saying, it's not even Wolverine's fault for his own movies. Like, the rest of the world that they put him in is just stupid or silly or.
And see, that's why I think he worked in X-Men, was because the whole world was silly, and he was really kind of the thing. And X-Men, I mean as a franchise, not as a movie. He was the thing that grounded it. He was the one that understood the sacrifices that needed to be made, and that's what made him and really kind of Mystique and Magneto, like that core, such interesting characters. Is he was a good person that understood the bad in life, and then you had Magneto, who'd been through such terrible stuff, and he went the other way. and they actually had, I mean, in some ways, some similar experiences with, loss and that type of stuff. And they really were a stark contrast to each other, even more than Magneto and Professor Xavier, because Professor Xavier is great, but he's permanently optimistic, which is,
Not
makes him
great.
a little bit of a, makes him a little bit kind of tiring at times. But like looking at Wolverine and how close he could come to being a bad character with what he went through, and the fact that he still thought that people deserved, a chance, and that mutants and people could live in peace and all this stuff. Like, I don't know. I feel that he is a very compelling character that has been done a great disservice. And I wonder if the character will ever recover from it, or if we'll just get Bub, and middle fingers and him drinking beers. And I mean, like there was the X-Men movie where he's in it for like 2 seconds and all he does is tell him to F off. And I'm like, that's like, it was funny. I laughed, but it's like, I feel it hurts the character. Like he could be the goose that lays the golden eggs, and they're cutting him open for cheap laughs.
Maybe. I think for me, my number one wasted character from X-Men is Rogue.
Also, touche.
Did her so badly. Anyway.
And Jean Grey / Phoenix, and
yeah,
we could go on.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a lot of wasted stuff in that franchise.
Now that I'm thinking about it, like Storm is the only one that they've done decently well, and it's like
they kind of killed her in both X-Men 3 and the new one, Apocalypse.
Yes, that's true. I pretend that that's not Storm. That's someone else. In my head canon, that's someone else.
But so we mentioned the Lego Batman movie, and that's February, but there's a lot of things happening in March. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Power Rangers is in March. Logan is in March. The Nintendo
I don't think there are
Switch
any
is
good
in March.
games coming out in March, though.
Zelda is in March. Mass Effect is in March. The new Kong movie looks pretty good. I'll wait for reviews, but that's in March. Beauty and the Beast is in March. And you guys don't really care about this, but for me, I care about it because I'm a Tesla Model 3 reservation holder, but the Model 3 big reveal is in March as well. So March is pretty stacked for great things happening.
So expensive.
March or the Model 3 in general?
Both.
March.
Wow. Yeah, the Tesla, notwithstanding. I mean, like, I'm probably going to be buying a new console. I'm going to be buying at least a couple of games. So many movies. And then
the key is you could prepay for them so it doesn't all hit you in the gut right in March.
It's true. I'm probably going to use my tax returns for most of it, to be honest.
There you go. My tax return is going to my down payment on my Model 3.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited. So let's get into kind of discussing what games everybody's playing right now. Ross, what have you been playing lately?
I've been doing a little bit of Elite Dangerous. Really, a lot of my time recently has gone into my my tabletop campaign that I run. Trent kind of mentioned earlier that I gave him his first Pokemon cards. Trent is one of the players in my Pokemon tabletop campaign. We do Pokemon Tabletop United, which is there's 2 different tabletop systems for Pokemon that are popular-ish, and United is the one that's a little more in depth. So I've been putting a lot of time into that. It's been interesting. Just a brief synopsis of it is our player characters came together and were sent out to kind of research about this phage that had been going around Pokemon, making them like feral. And this all takes place 30 years after Red or Ash beats the Elite Four, and so he's been missing, and the world has changed drastically. It's definitely a much darker place as people have come to fear Pokemon and what they can do. And so they've been kind of going around gathering research. They finally found out like the organization that they had like recruited them, and got some information there. They saved someone that had been working inside Team Rocket, like trying to prevent Team Rocket's evil plans. And just recently, they were attacked by a super-powered person who was out of time through the legendary Pokemon Celebi's powers, nice. And they saw Red or Ash, depending on whether you're a manga or an anime individual, die. He got murdered with all of his Pokemon in front of them, trying to save them from this evil, superpowered being. And so now it gets into kind of the core part of a tabletop campaign where it's like the whole fate of the world actually does rest on you. You're no longer just kind of looking around for information. Like, shiz has hit the fan.
Nice.
So you have to ask Trent what he thinks about it. I obviously like it a lot because it's my story. But what do you think, Trent? Do you like my campaign? Tell me here live for everyone on YouTube to hear.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed the last session. I'm
Strong
curious to see where it
recommendation.
goes. That's right. I know that you've been playing something that I'm really excited about, which is a certain new mod that just released for a game that came out last year.
I have. It's the Last War 2 because it's for XCOM 2. It's the Last War 2 mod.
Long War or
Long War, good call. Long War 2, which is an XCOM 2 mod, and it's really interesting because it is a free mod that I would say has more value than any DLC I have ever purchased. And so it really kind of calls into question, like, why am I paying this much for DLC on games? It completely revamps the game. It adds like 3 new classes, 4 if you have all the DLC for the game. It lets you send out multiple groups on missions at the same time. There are infiltration missions where your units can spend time there, like scouting out the area and sabotaging defenses and stuff before you actually go in, which weakens the enemies. But it's balanced by the more soldiers you send, the less able they are to infiltrate because they're a larger unit. And so you can choose to like really weaken the people's defenses and try to infiltrate with 3 soldiers, or send an army of like 10 people because it also ups the party size from 6 to 10. So you can try to send a larger group, and and you're going to be a lot less effective at infiltrating and sabotaging them, but you're going to have a lot more muscle. And it also takes, I believe that an average game of XCOM 2 is about 40 regular missions, and then there's a few like set missions you have to take at the end, so there's like 7 more there. So like 40 to 50 missions on average. And the Long War mod runs between 100 and 120 missions. So it drastically lengthens the campaign. They have at least 2 new tiers of high-end weapons and several low-end kind of mid tiers that it adds. It's definitely amazing. It's better than any DLC I've ever bought, and it's completely free on
Nice.
PC.
I'm still working my way through Mass Effect 2, about halfway, a little bit, almost halfway, I would say. Recording the whole thing. It'll be up on YouTube once I'm finished with the whole thing. Even though it came out last year, Shovel Knight released some free DLC called the Plague Knight DLC. Have either of you played Shovel Knight at all?
No.
I have not.
Oh, it's so good, so good. I'm a sucker for classic games, but so yeah, they released a whole free campaign. It's basically you play through the whole campaign again, but it's a different character with a completely different movesets, and they changed the levels a little bit to kind of cater to this new character's movesets, and so it's really, really fun. I finished Dishonored a week or so ago, Dishonored 2. Played it through
Spoiler free on that one.
Yep, I will. I know you want to play it really bad. So played through the first time doing the good guy path, and I played as Corvo on the hardest difficulty, doing a stealth run. Got
Did
the
you
good
get your
ending.
achievements at the end?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
That's good.
But then, the frustration with playing through stealthy on hard, came out as I started a new game plus where I had, tons of points to spend on my powers, but then put it on easy and then just basically went on a murderous rampage throughout all the levels to get the bad ending.
Are there rats in this game still? Like rats come and eat people if
Yep.
you.
Yep.
Seems like
Rats
kind of a
everywhere.
And you could summon your own group of rats to eat people too, which I did many times.
Have you tried playing with both Corvo and Emily's powers together? I've heard that some of the most amazing things that you can do in the game come from those two.
I didn't, no, because I had Corvo's the first time, but then when I did New Game Plus and I chose Emily as my character for the second run, I saw that Corvo's old powers are available, but I wanted to try out all of her new powers and strictly adhere to those powers to get a new experience.
There's a couple cool things that I saw in like some trailers and stuff. Like you can chain people together, then possess like them all, and like you have a whole like crowd of people you're walking around.
Nice. But other than that, I'm very excited. Resident Evil 7 comes out tomorrow. Reviews have been very, very good, and I'm a longtime Resident Evil fan, so I'm happy to hear that, and I'll be playing that tomorrow, definitely.
Nice. Let's see. I finally finished Just Cause 3, which is exciting for me.
You kind of had to motor through the end of it, didn't you? You were ready to move on, and you're like, I got to finish the story.
Yeah, so the mechanics of how you progress story missions is that you have to have liberated enough regions or provinces from the different parts of the nation. And after a little while, that mechanic becomes a little bit dull because you're doing literally the same thing.
Oh,
Like
so that's pretty much what I said when I was
well,
talking about the game before,
you shut up.
and you were making fun of me for that opinion.
It didn't get really bad until like the last 3 or 4 missions, and I'm like, oh, I've already done this so many times. Like, can we just say that I've liberated these towns? Because I mean, it's a foregone conclusion because death means nothing, so I'm eventually going to get it done anyway. And so, yeah. But I mean, at the end was satisfying. Boss battle was a little bit less than satisfying. Um,
But you told me it was all worth it for the button that showed up after you completed the game.
the button. I don't remember this.
Yeah, the one you were telling me about for the settlements, so that
Oh,
you could free them again.
yeah. So after you're done, if you go back into the game, you can set settlements to be reoppressed. And so there's like a reoppression setting, and it's telling you about this reoppression. I was like, such a weird way to talk about something so terrible.
Nice. I'm glad you liked it though. I liked it too.
It ended up really fun, and by the end, like between the DLC content that I went and did, you've got just so many ridiculous, amazing abilities and power ups to your equipment, and it's just like I'm gonna fly up here in my wingsuit and shoot you all with rockets as I do a single pass, and then I'm gonna pull out my lightning summoning
He
gun.
turned into Farah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull out my lightning summoning gun and destroy all of you before my parachute hits the ground. So
And Winston, apparently.
yes, so it was fun, and it has that Grand Theft Auto wreak havoc. Like I mean, there's literally a chaos mechanic in the game aspect to it, but yeah, it could have ended a little sooner for me. Some of the missions were really cool though,
Yeah.
and I mean, like I remember the actual missions that you do are very cinematic and story driven, but the things that you do are so ridiculous. And when you try to explain them to your friends, they're like, "So what are you doing in Just Cause 3?" And I'm like, "Well, I drove a jeep with these people onto this airfield that's controlled by the enemy, and we drove onto a cargo plane that was in the middle of taking off, and then I got on the top of that cargo plane and grapple hooked all these other jet fighters and killed them one at a time." It's just like it sounds so crazy over the top,
I think the
and it's
best one
so
was
much fun.
the best one you told me was when you had to rescue the president. And you're like, so yeah, I just grappled over to her plane and like did all this stuff, and then, like you're like grappling from like a propeller plane to like a jet in the air. I'm just like, all right, man, that's pretty cool. Like,
It was pretty great. But up to that point, I was terrified because I'd never successfully landed a plane in that game. And that mission, you have to land the plane. And I'm like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap,
Oh jeez.
oh
I guess the
geez.
president's not invincible like you are, huh?
No. Oh, that leads me to another funny thing. Just one more story from Just Cause. There was a mission, that mission I was telling you about, where you have to take the Jeep onto the cargo plane. I didn't realize that there were passengers in the Jeep with me when I got into it. So I'm driving down this road, and I'm like, okay, well, so it tells me to, get on the Jeep and go down to the airfield. I'm like, why don't I just, glide down to the airfield on my wingsuit? And so I veer the Jeep off of a cliff and jump out and like get my wingsuit out, and I'm like flying down towards the plane. I was like, I got this, I got this. And all of a sudden the Jeep explodes, and it's like, so and so is dead. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why.
Nice.
Oh, it's a fun game. If you haven't tried it, it is just ridiculously fun. So, yeah.
What
So
shows you been watching?
well, just real quick, but before that, I have been getting into the new Star Wars Force Arena game for Android mobile. I guess it's probably for both Android and iOS. Um, Have you guys heard of this or played it yet?
I've heard of it. You told me about it, but I haven't played it yet.
So it's
I've seen
kind
it.
of
I'm not on mobile very much, so I don't really. My phone sucks. I need to buy a new one, but I'm poor/cheap, so I don't have much that I do on Android or iOS.
I can't decide if I like it yet or not, but it's Star Wars, and so it scratches that itch for me a little bit. And it's kind of a mix between Clash Royale, which is a pretty popular mobile game, and an actual MOBA type game like League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm. So you have a hero that you select for your battle, and then you have a deck that you've built that's either Empire or Rebellion based on your hero and based on the cards that you have. And then as you walk your hero around the map, and there's 2 to 3 lanes pushing, you bring out the creeps by the cards that you draw from this deck. And so it's interesting, but I don't know if it's good. And so I wanted to get someone else's opinion. So I'll have to wait till one of you plays it.
Well, I was signed up to receive the notification when it came out, but I guess I didn't get it. But I'm downloading right now. Can I join you or something like that? Or
Yeah, so it has a guild system you can join, and it actually has, which is I think is pretty fun. It has a 2v2 mode, so it's 2 champions on each side, and you're playing against real people in real time. And so you can actually team up with a friend and do a 2-on-2 battle. So I did that with my friend RJ last week, and it was really fun. So like that part of it was great. It's just that it's hard to organize doing that with your friends if you're not both in the same room, and also not being able to talk to each other to coordinate like strategy. But it was really fun.
you chose Empire, right?
Well, you can build decks for both, but I do
Oh, okay.
typically play Empire most. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, my hero of choice is Director Krennic. So
Nice.
yes. Although I'm 2 days away from unlocking Tarkin. He's in the opening event that if you log on every day for 7 days or whatever, you get Tarkin. So
Yeah, I'll download it and give it a try. See what I think.
yeah, it's fun. Other than that, I think that's. Oh, and I've been back on The Sims 4 again because
Because I showed you a trailer for The Sims Online.
No, it's something I've been feeling for a little while, and it turns out they're coming out with a vampire expansion tomorrow.
Oh,
So
jeez. Oh, jeez.
it's just one of those games that you cycle back to every now and then. At least I do. So I'm excited about it. It's fun. So TV shows. You asked me that question a minute ago.
I did.
Still watching Gilmore Girls.
Okay.
I'm
How far are you?
almost done with season 4.
All right. That's the last season, right?
I'm beyond. No, it's 7 seasons.
7 seasons. Oh, okay. I was not correct in that.
Oh, sorry, I'm over halfway. So there's that. But then I got the Netflix thing to watch after that. But anyway, the good ones that I've been watching that are nerdy related outside of that, you and I have been watching Star Wars Rebels. We're in season 2.
What do you think of season 1? Did we talk about season 1 yet?
No, not in here because we powered through it in like less than a day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what 13 episodes that are half an hour each.
Yeah.
So it's really good, like really, really good. Holy crap, really good. The music is incredible. Some of the scenes and the writing that they do, very emotional. The callbacks that they and some of the characters that they bring in, I just oof.
What do you think of season 2 so far?
Darker.
Yeah.
It definitely took a turn, but I like it. It's really good. So I mean, it's pre episode 4. Like height of the Empire, basically. Well, not height, because height is right before the Death Star blows up, in my opinion. But I mean, it's a dark universe, and there's bad things that happen to people, and I'm glad that they're not shying away from that because it's a kid show. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Have you started any of the Clone Wars at all, Russ?
I intended to start them, and then I started a new semester of school instead.
Nah, that happens.
That does happen.
I tried to talk to my wife and said, listen, like I just won't finish up my transfer degree this year, and will instead watch all of the Star Wars, Clone Wars, and it wasn't a very long conversation.
And she said, "No deal."
I don't know.
There were some things that she immediately took off the table when I made that recommendation.
Nice. What have you been watching, Ryan?
Well, I think I mentioned already, but I finished Westworld and Stranger Things recently. But I think I mentioned that, talked about that already.
Yes.
But I'm watching through Luke Cage right now. I'm liking it a lot more now. I'm about halfway through. I'm liking it more now than I did at the beginning. I didn't dislike it, but it was just not a show. I watched an episode, I'm like, oh yeah, that was good, but then like never like felt the need to go back and watch another one, even though it's
Oh
obviously
God,
on
I
my
watched
list.
it all in like a day and a half.
Yeah, so I'm about halfway through it. I'm enjoying it. I've kind of decided to put some other shows on hold, such as Agents of Shield and things like that, just until Luke Cage is finished, so I could get it done and over with. As far as next show, I'm probably gonna go do Twin Peaks. For those who are not familiar, it's an older show. I
What?
believe it's in the 90s. Um,
What is
I
this?
I watched the first season. Nick actually got me into it back in the early 2000s on DVD, like with DVDs we were talking about. It's a mystery show, a murder mystery show, and it's only 2 seasons long. And I finished the first season. It ends on a big cliffhanger, but Nick didn't own the season 2 DVD, and so we were going to buy it at some point, but never got around to it. So I still haven't finished the mystery, and the show is coming back for a third season this year. Um, I don't know the full extent of it because I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but I know like a character literally says like in the movie like or in the show like see you in 25 years or see you in 30 years or something like that. And this year is that time period. It is exactly the 25 years, 30 years, however from when the show when she said that line, and this is a continuation of the story, will be later this summer, this fall. And so I wanted to watch both seasons of Twin Peaks to get the full story, get the mystery, and then have the hype leading up into the new season when it starts this year. So that's
Nice.
my next to-do list on shows to watch.
So, what do you guys think about shows that are doing like nostalgia trips / soft reboots like this? Because I mean, we've got an example. Will and Grace has been announced that they're coming back for a new season. We had the X-Files last year.
Prison Break this year.
Prison
Charm's
Break.
coming back.
Charmed is being it's a new series that takes place before.
I'm always cautiously optimistic about them. It's one of those things like if they're good, I'll like them. If
Right.
they suck, I don't care how nostalgia it is. I'm definitely gonna watch the Prison Break one. I really, really, really liked Prison Break. I like the two actors from it. It's one of the reasons that I got into watching Legends when they spun them off of Flash to be in Legends. Like I wasn't really super on the Legends hype, but I liked those two actors and their interactions were actually good enough. It was to the point that kind of spoiler alert for Legends if you're like way behind when they killed off Captain Cold, like I cried. Like I was like really sad about it, but like yeah, I mean I love reboots as long as they're good, but you're not all you're gonna do is engender ill will if you try to reboot something that was great and make it terrible.
Yeah.
So for me, Twin Peaks is going to kind of be the exception because I really haven't finished Twin Peaks yet. So I'm going to go back and watch it and then kind of go right into the new season. But as much as I loved Prison Break, like I'm kind of done with it. So I'll kind of keep an eye on it. And then if it's getting positive reception, I'll go ahead and watch the new season. But I'm probably not going to line up and watch it, right off the bat. And it's probably the same for most other shows in that same vein. Like X-Files, I kind of waited to see if people enjoyed it, and people did. So I watched it. It was only like 8 episodes, so it wasn't a huge commitment anyways, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I definitely enjoyed it. So I'll probably approach Prison Break and other shows in a similar manner.
So real quick, what did you think about Nick Cage? Obviously you said you're partway through it and it's it's not compelling enough that you've watched them all one
Nick
right
Cage?
after another. What did I say?
You said Nick Cage.
I meant Luke Cage.
Does he have his own Mortal Kombat show? Because I would watch that.
God, I'd love to see Luke Cage like fight Nick Cage.
That's Johnny Cage. Nick Cage is an actor.
Oh my gosh, I'm stupid.
What? So I taking crazy pills?
So many cages. What's going on? What are we yelling about?
If we get Luke Cage, Nick Cage, and Johnny Cage all in a cage match.
Now that's a sitcom I would watch right there. Those three characters.
No, Luke Cage, the one with the superhero, the black guy. What are your thoughts on it?
No, I'm really enjoying it so far. Like I said, I'm about halfway, and I've heard different people say, "Oh, the first half is much better than the second half." Tapers off, and I've heard people say the opposite. The first half is bad, but the second half really takes off. I feel for most of the Netflix Marvel shows, it's kind of been the first half is strong and the second half tapers off.
Did you
So
watch Jessica Jones?
yes,
See, I thought that show was just 100% dynamite all the way through, and I thought Luke Cage was like I really liked them. I haven't finished Daredevil. I got I think into season 2 of Daredevil and was like, well, this is just stupid, and stopped. I mean, I'll probably
yeah,
go back at some point, but I had
I
enough
really
other stuff
liked
to
Jessica
fill my
Jones,
time.
but I felt it was way too long. Like that show should have been 7 or 8 episodes long, not the 12 or 13 they gave it, because there's only so many times you could catch the Purple Man and then he escapes again, just because of some BS reason, and then they catch him again and then he escapes again. Like that cycle went on way too long in that show, and by the time, like, without really spoiling anything, but like by the time like he's in that bar setting or the restaurant setting when he has a bunch of people under his control, like by that time, and then he escapes again, I was just like ready to throw my Xbox, which I was watching it on the time, just out the window, because I'm just like, nope, I'm done. Like, this is so dumb. Like, just kill him. Like, they create so much, I call it just artificial, like, fattening to make that season be longer, just because of catching him and him escaping so many times. It got so old so fast. And maybe, I mean, it's part of the Netflix model, so I binged it because it was last winter and I was sick one day and home from work, and that's why I pretty much watched the whole thing in one day, a week or so after it came out, and so I got all in a row. So by the time the end, I was really ready for the end to come. Even
That's
though,
interesting because I liked Jessica Jones probably I'd say a little bit more than I liked Luke Cage, but I couldn't binge Jessica Jones. Like I'd watch 2 or 3 episodes and I'd be like, I gotta like I'd have to wait. But Luke Cage, I mean, I watched it. I mean, literally within a 36-hour period. I just powered through it because it was so good and so compelling. Like I always wanted, like it always left me like, what happens next? And yeah, Jessica Jones was different in that I kind of needed to space it out. It was almost like tragedy porn, like everything bad that can happen happens to her.
Yeah.
I was kind of a captive audience because I was sick and I was too sick to like play games. Like I just kind of wanted to lay on the couch and watch something. And it was winter time. I remember, so like all my shows were on hiatus. So I kind of just, Jessica Jones was pretty much all I had. So
I mean, though, to all of our listeners, though, to be fair, you have to take what he says with a grain of salt because this is the guy that told you he doesn't like Battlestar Galactica. So, I mean, we can split the hate mail between me and Ryan this week.
And no hate mail for me, because everybody hates Wolverine. Just kidding.
all the Gilmore Girls haters will
That's right.
come out of the woodwork.
How dare you?
Oh, I saw an article.
this
It's like 10
awful
reasons
show.
why Rory is the worst.
Yeah, I'll get to it later.
I think if they knew how many series you're behind in, I think you get hate mail over that. For example, hey Trent, do you know how White Collar ends?
Stop
No,
it.
you don't, because
Stop
you
it.
haven't finished it yet.
We've talked about this before, and that's mean of you to do. I love that show, and I don't want it to end, so I'm not watching the last season, because I'll always have more to look forward to.
Because it'll close the book on your head canon.
Yeah.
Just like Spartacus.
I have trouble finishing things, okay? Like, it's a thing of mine. It's actually,
This
like,
season of the Blacklist is really good.
we did a strengths assessment at work, and Achiever, which is the strength for like completing tasks and being empowered by that, is my dead last strength. So like I'm great at making lists and coming up with ideas and starting things and like handing
that
them off to
actually really
people.
fits you.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time that we played Ark, how many houses did you start building? 4?
4, and I didn't finish any of them.
And the Ark server ran for like 3 months that time.
Yeah, it did.
It's funny how I'm the exact opposite. I could be sitting here hating my life watching Battlestar Galactica at Greek, but I'm like, I have to finish it. I hate this so much, but I have to finish it.
See, and there are certain things that I will power through and finish, but that's not why I'm doing it. This is very interesting discussion, I'm sure, for a lot of people. Not, but like for me, like I'm really good at coming up with an idea, coming up with like the brainstorming, like aiming like a project, and then like handing it off to someone saying, like, "Go, run, do things," and
You're
then
the idea man.
I will take part in it. But I am not a closer. I was terrible in sales. I don't care about any of like I don't care about the end goal. I care about the process and like whether it's quality or not. So that's kind of one of the reasons why like I don't know. And not to say that these shows aren't good. I just have too many shows to keep track of is the problem. Especially if a show isn't finished yet, it gets a lot harder because like Spartacus wasn't done yet when I caught up to where it was, and then I just never went back to it. And same with White Collar. I finished the end of season 4, and then I just haven't gone back to it yet. So
That's not a bad problem to have.
yeah, I've come to the conclusion, and I'm assuming everybody has come to this conclusion. There is more of any, just even one type of content being made that you would ever be able to catch up on. Like there are more good books being published every year than I could read every year, and that's just books.
Yep.
I'm caught up on all the superhero TV shows except for Gotham because F that show.
I hate that show.
I like Gotham more than all the CW shows except for Flash. I'll just say
All right, so next week I'll be hosting with Trent because there are things worse than not thinking Star Wars is great.
How far have you guys? How far have you gotten into Gotham? I might ask.
part of the first season, and that
Yeah,
was
like
enough.
I can count the episodes on my hand, and I didn't go
Okay,
back.
so yeah, you're judging a 4-season show, 3-season show on the first half of a first season.
Yeah, but when there's 30 new good shows every year, I'm sorry if you don't catch me in the first 4, I'm done.
Yeah, it's understandable, but I still stand by my opinion that it's better than Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow,
Better than Arrow is
and
now.
Supergirl. Yeah,
It didn't start out as good as Arrow.
I would say even the second half of season 1 is really good. So
I just couldn't get over the guy who's killing people with weather balloons.
yeah, that was dumb. That campy, but
Can't
yeah.
can't get over it. Especially the cop who's like 3 feet above the air, like, oh god, no, no, please, no. And he's holding a gun. I was like, shoot the balloon. Just shoot the, oh my god, shoot the balloon. The worst thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna twist your ankle.
Well, I have a problem with a villain like the Trickster being a problem for Flash because Flash could just instantly take him out.
But it's Mark Hamill, so everybody loves him, so it's
It's
fine.
true. It's true. Mark Hamill gets the free pass.
All right. Well, we're reaching the tail end of our time for the day. Is there anything you guys wanted to get to that we haven't gotten to yet?
I just say be on the lookout. Trent, Nick, and I did a Game Awards, Gamer Rants style. I'm in the middle of editing that right now. It should be out this week, so be on the lookout for that on our YouTube channel. It's going to be great.
Ooh. Ross? Final thoughts? Anything else to crap on real quick before we go?
No, I feel that I have properly fertilized your podcast. Overwatch just released a bunch of new pops that are really cool. They have an event coming up for Chinese New Year's. They have some new character skins that are really cool. So I'm putting in some time on Overwatch in the coming weeks. That was the only kind of thing on my game radar that I didn't really hit on in the podcast.
Nice. Well, I would like to thank everyone again for joining us for this episode of the Brief Nerdity podcast. And I'm gonna pull a podcast shill move here and talk about iTunes reviews. Just really, really quick. If you feel so inclined and you would like to go to our iTunes page and leave us a review and a comment, we would love that because it's really the only way to get on the map in terms of iTunes listings is to have people start reviewing your show. So if you feel so inclined, I don't care. Like, you don't need to give us a 5-star review if you don't think we have earned it yet, but please go over there and that would be great. And then of course, as always, hit us up on Twitter, email, Facebook, go to our website, briefnerdity.com, and let us know what you're thinking about how we're doing. And with that, thank you to Ryan and Ross for joining us. Say goodbye, gentlemen.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
And we will see you guys next week.
See
Have a
ya.
good one.